Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever just stood and stared up at a ridiculously tall building and thought, how? How on earth is that thing just standing there? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible magic that holds it all together. Let's get into it.
No, really, just take a second to think about that. You've got a structure that weighs millions of tons. How does it not just crumble? Or what happens when a massive gust of wind hits it? It seems like it should just topple right over. Well, it doesn't. And the reason why is a field of science that every single one of you as future architects is going to need to know inside and out.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We'll start with the science of stability. Then, we'll build from the ground up to see how things get more complex. After that, we'll open up the architect's structural toolkit, and we'll wrap up by talking about designing for the future.
Okay, so the absolute hero of this entire story is a field called statics. You can think of it as the fundamental law of building. It's the one thing that turns a cool drawing into a real, safe building that people can actually use. It's all about finding that perfect, steady balance against every force trying to tear a building down.
So here's the official definition for you. Statics is the science of equilibrium. And that word right there, equilibrium, is everything. All it really means is that every force is perfectly balanced out by another force. For every push, there's an equal and opposite pushback. When that happens, you get a structure that's totally stable. It just stands. And you know what? It's actually simpler than it sounds. Forget all the complicated diagrams for a second and just look at the chair analogy. Think about it. You, sitting in a chair, is statics in action. Your body weight is the external load pushing down. The chair itself is the structure. It takes that load and sends it down its legs to the floor. And then the floor pushes back up with the exact same amount of force. That pushback is the support reaction. Load down, reaction up. That perfect balance? That's equilibrium. And that one simple idea is behind every single building on the planet.
Okay, so if the basic idea is that simple, where does it get tricky? Well, it all comes down to scale. Managing those forces in a one-story house is totally different than in a super tall skyscraper. Let's see how that challenge grows. So we'll start small with low-rise buildings. Anything from 1 to about 4 floors. From a structural standpoint, these are pretty straightforward. The load paths, which are just the routes the weight takes to get to the ground, are super simple and direct. It's a lot like our chair example, just scaled up a bit using things like basic beams and columns.
Now let's climb a little higher. We get to mid-rise buildings, maybe 5 to 8 floors. Suddenly, the total weight is much bigger, and other forces, like the wind pushing on the side of the building, start to matter a lot more. Your simple beams and columns aren't quite going to cut it anymore. You need to bring in stronger systems, like rigid frames with stiff joints or huge, solid shear walls that basically act like a spine for the building to keep it from swaying.
And then, you get to the high-rise, 9 floors and up. At this point, it is a whole different ballgame. Yeah, the weight is obviously enormous, but the biggest headaches for engineers are actually the sideways or lateral forces. We're talking about powerful winds trying to knock the building over or the violent shaking from an earthquake. Designing for those forces becomes the #1 priority.
Now, this diagram looks like a lot, but don't worry about memorizing every little detail. The main point is crystal clear. As you move from the simple, low-rise buildings on the left toward the super complex high-rises on the right, the structural systems have to get way more sophisticated to fight off those new forces. The big takeaway is this: the taller you decide to build, the smarter your structure has to get.
So how exactly do you build these smarter structures? Well, think of it like architects and engineers have this amazing toolkit filled with all kinds of structural systems. And each tool is designed for a very specific job. So let's open up that toolkit and see what's inside. Let's start with 2 of the biggest workhorses, the truss and the frame. A truss, which you see all the time in bridges, is all about triangles. Those triangles are fantastic at handling forces that either pull them apart, that's tension, or squeeze them together, that's compression. It makes them super efficient. A frame, on the other hand, uses rigid, stiff joints. That lets it handle bending forces, or what engineers call moment. And that ability to resist bending is absolutely crucial for keeping a multi-story building stable.
And even within the world of trusses, there's a ton of variety. Take a look at these 3 common types: the Pratt, the Howe, and the Warren. See how their diagonal pieces are all pointing in different directions? That is not for looks. Each one of those patterns is precisely calculated to control whether the diagonals are getting pulled on or squeezed. It's all about making the truss as strong and light as possible for a specific job. It's just pure structural elegance.
But what if you need to cover a gigantic open area, like a sports arena with no columns in the way? You need some specialized tools. On the left, you've got shell structures. Think of an eggshell. It's incredibly thin, but super strong, right? That's because it works in compression, spreading the force out over its whole curved surface. Then on the right, you have the total opposite, cable structures. They work purely by being pulled on or in tension. This makes them incredibly light and flexible, which is why they're perfect for things like suspension bridges.
And we can take that tension idea even further. That brings us to membrane, tent, and net structures. These are all about being super lightweight and flexible. By taking a fabric-like material or a web of cables and pulling it tight, what we call pre-stressing, you can create these absolutely stunning, dramatic shapes that are still strong enough to cover huge spaces like stadiums or outdoor pavilions.
All right, so we've looked at the science, we've peeked inside the toolkit, but let's get real. Why does all of this theory matter to you as someone who wants to design buildings? Let's tie it all together.
So why spend all this time on statics? Well, first off, if you can speak this language, you can have a real, productive conversation with your structural engineer. It also means you can design buildings that aren't just cool-looking, but are also smart, rational, and efficient. It gives you the power to push the boundaries and try new, innovative things. But honestly, the most important reason is also the simplest. It's about safety. Understanding these principles is your fundamental responsibility to make sure that every single person who walks into a building you designed is safe.
This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? The ultimate goal is to create architecture that is beautiful, yes, but that beauty has to be built on the non-negotiable foundation of structural integrity. One can't exist without the other.
So, now you have the building blocks. You've seen the core principles and the tools that let us build everything from a small house to a skyscraper that touches the clouds. The only real question left is, what are you going to do with it? What kind of amazing, innovative, and lasting structures are you going to design?